Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari chairs Council of State meeting over Naira redesign. Appeal Court sacks Mohamed Abacha as Kano PDP governorship candidate. Plus, death toll tops 21,000 in Turkey, Syria quake. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in a moment. First, in the news this afternoon, the Council of State has advised President Muhammadu Buhari to direct the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to print more redesigned Naira notes or allow the new and old banknotes circulate concurrently to ease tension caused by scarcity of cash. The Council approved the Naira redesign policy of the CBN but faltered its implementation. Briefing State House correspondent after the council meeting, chaired by the President, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who was flanked by Governor Darius Ishaku of Taraba State and Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, said that the council illuminated the need for aggressive action by the CBN to ensure adequate supply of the Naira in the system for proper implementation of the policy. Echoing submissions by the Council, Governor Ishaku stated that it proffered a number of suggestions to the President, particularly on the currency swap challenge, which dominated discussions following a debriefing from the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, and expressed the hope that President would take the decision soon by way intervention. Away from that, the federal government has commenced the deployment of security agencies to filling stations across the country to enforce the use of point-of-sale POS machines and the acceptance of bank transfers at the various outlets. The government directive to marketers came through the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in a statement issued in Abuja by the agency's General Manager, Corporate Communications and Stakeholders Management, Kimchi Apollo. According to the statements, the government vowed to deal with oil marketers who project POS machines or bank transfers from customers, stressing that the move became vital following reports that some filling stations were culpable as regards this development, despite the severe cash crunch nationwide. Meanwhile, the federal government has approved 67 new broadcast licenses for radio and television stations across the country. The Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, Bala Rabe Ilela, discloses that 302 broadcast stations breached the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) code in the last 2 years. Ilela called on broadcasters to continue to abide by the NBC Act, the Nigeria Broadcasting Code, the Electoral Act, and other extant laws that guide media operation to ensure that the general elections are free, fair, and credible. The Commission said it had deployed all the technical and operational facilities for the monitoring of the forthcoming general elections. Moving now to judiciary, where Court of Appeals sitting in Kano today sacked Mohamed Abacha as the People's Democratic Party PDP governorship candidate in Kano. The court set aside the judgment of the higher courts that recognized Abacha as the PDP flag bearer in the state. The court also ordered that Sadiq Wali, who was earlier recognized by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), remains the valid governorship candidate. Justice Usman Musale, who delivered the anonymous judgment with three-man panel, held that Abachi had no locus standi to challenge the primary that produced Wali, since he never participated in the primary elections. Meanwhile, Kano state government has filed a lawsuit against the federal government at the Supreme Court over the Naira redesigned by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. In the lawsuits, the Kano State Attorney General, through his lawyer Sanusi Musa, is arguing that President Muhammadu Buhari cannot direct the CBN to recall the old 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira banknote without first consulting the Federal Executive Council and the National Economic Council. The Kano government is seeking a court order to reverse the federal government's policy of recalling these banknotes, citing the adverse impact it would have on the economic well-being of over 20 million Kano citizens. It also seeks a mandatory order to compel the federal government to reverse the Naira redesign policy, alleging that it violates the 1999 Constitution. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has insisted there will not be another extension of the deadline for the collection of permanent voter cards (PVC) before the general elections. The Commission said it needs to move its staff away from the issuance of PVCs to another sector that need attention ahead of the elections. In an interview, the INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, disclosed that the Commission will gather uncollected PVCs and deposit them at the Central Bank of Nigeria until after the 2023 elections. Still on electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission has solicited the support of the Nigerian Bar Association in handling its numerous pre-electoral cases in courts across the country. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, made the call when he hosted a delegation of the Nigerian Bar Association led by its president, Yakubu Mekao, at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. Yakubu said that INEC had been joined in 1,241 intra-party lawsuits in different courts of law as of February 6, not on elections conducted by INEC, but on primaries conducted by political parties for the nomination of candidates for the 2023 general elections. He added that some of the cases had gone to the Federal High Court, while some were before the Court of Appeal and others were before the Supreme Court. The INEC chairman requested the support of the NBA in handling some of the cases.
2022. One of the things that I said in my inaugural speech is that we are going into the election year. And there is one thing that we owe Nigerians as members of the legal profession, either serving on the bench or at the bar, is sincere participation in the electoral process, as we are called upon to participate in the pre-election and post-election disputes, because those matters will certainly come before the courts, and it is our lot, it is our responsibility to participate in that process, in the resolution of these disputes one way or the other. We can only help this nation provide direction and advance the cause of this nation if we do that honestly and sincerely in the interpretation of the laws and the implementation of those laws to the disputes that will come to the courts. And so, sir, we are here to say to you that the Nigerian Bar Association is solidly behind INEC, solidly behind your administration. And we would not allow any.
In politics, the Director General of the People's Democratic Party Presidential Campaign Council in Rivers State, Abiye Sekibo, escaped assassination by the Whiskers on Thursday midnight. It was learned that gunmen dressed in police uniform opened fire on Sekibo's vehicle, a Land Cruiser bulletproof jeep, at the Rainbow town in Port Harcourt, where he went to inspect the venue of a proposed presidential rally of the party. Confirming the incident at a news briefing today, Sakibo said his car was riddled with bullets and the venue of the proposed rally set on fire while policemen watched the inferno. Meanwhile, Nigerians and bank customers are gripped with confusion and uncertainty over today's deadline by the Central Bank of Nigeria for the phasing out of old Naira note. They are unsure if the deadline still remains or has been suspended following the Supreme Court's injunction obtained by some Northern governors. Recall that the Supreme Court had ruled that the deadline should be suspended pending the determination of the case brought before it by the governors of Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara State. The court has fixed February 15 to entertain the case. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, in a response to the suit, said the Supreme Court lacked jurisdiction on the matter. In another development, the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria have lamented the rate at which the country is losing its professional nurses and midwives to foreign countries. The council disclosed that over 14,000 nurses had left Nigeria for greener pastures in many countries across the world. The Secretary General and Registrar of the Council, Dr. Farouk Abubakar, disclosed this at the opening of a retreat for a top management of the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria in Akure, the Ondo State capital. He noted that part of the strategies to curb the migration of nurses in the country is to increase the admission quota in schools, grant approval for the establishment and more colleges of nursing and accredit nursing departments in eligible universities in the country. In Africa, East African Community EAC leaders have been urged to fast-track the deployment of additional troops in the regional force deployed to Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, a mediator for the East African Community, says more troops need to take up positions in areas where armed groups have been withdrawn. Kenyatta expressed concerns over the deteriorating security situation in North Kivu province, where M23 rebels have clashed with security forces recent weeks. Still in Africa, the European Union ambassador to Rwanda has reportedly announced €22 million in renewed funding till 2026 in support of the country's hosting of refugees transferred from Libya. In 2019, Rwanda signed an agreement with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, to evacuate refugees and asylum seekers in need of international protection from Libya to Rwanda. Since September 2019, the UNHCR has evacuated about 1,500 refugees and asylum seekers from Libya. Meanwhile, more than 900 have since left Rwanda to resettle in other countries, the majority in European Union countries, including Sweden, France, Belgium, and Finland.
And I was just saying that the financing part, the resource, is something that without which we couldn't do much. So when these people are evacuated from Libya, where they are going through tremendous trauma, they arrive here in Rwanda, that have given the space for them to find security first, to be able to be assessed and see how we can find a durable solution for them. I think it's a very great step that we have achieved.
So I think that this is a very significant support. It really is an expression of our commitment to support these initiatives, and we will continue assessing the needs and seeing how best we can be part of the solution. And I think that, yes, to be working and supporting some of the African solutions to that situation.
On a foreign scene, Ukrainian Air Force says Russian forces struck Ukraine's southern Zaporizhia city and the northeastern Kharkiv region with dozens of missiles. The Air Force said on its Facebook page that Russian attacked Kharkiv region and Zaporizhia region with up to 300 surface-to-air missiles that cannot be destroyed in the air with the air defense. The agency added that Russian forces also fired C-300 surface-to-air missile from across the border in Belgorod, and from the occupied city of Tokmak in southern Ukraine. Still on the foreign scene, at least 21,000 people have been reportedly killed in Turkey and Syria earthquake, and rescuers are still in search for survivors as the United States offered an $85 million and aid package. The first UN aid deliveries arrived in Syrian rebel-held zones, but changes of finding survivors have deemed since the passing of three-day mark that experts consider a critical period to save lives. Meanwhile, the U.S. Agency for International Development in a statement said its aid package will go to partners on the ground to deliver urgently needed aid for millions of people, including food, shelter, and emergency health services. It will also support safe drinking water and sanitation to prevent the outbreak of diseases. Still to come in the news, FIFA announces 3 finalists for Podcast Award 2022. Do stay with us.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Much thanks for staying with us. On our business news, Naira scarcity caused by the Central Bank of Nigeria's redesign and cash withdrawal policy has pushed point of sales transactions to 807.16 billion naira in January 2023. According to new data from the Nigeria Inter-Bank Settlement System, total cashless transactions in Nigeria rose by 45.41% to 39.58 trillion naira in January 2023. Recall that in 2022, the CBN had announced a Naira redesign policy withdrawal limit and encouraged Nigerians to adopt electronic forms of transaction. Meanwhile, the CBN said that the maximum weekly limit for cash withdrawals across all channels by individuals and corporate organizations shall be 500,000 and 5 million naira, respectively. Still in business, the Deputy Minister for Overseas Koreans and Consular Affairs, Republic of Korea, Choi Young, has described Nigeria as a gateway to unlocking the potentials of the African continent's blue economy. Choi Young stated this during a courtesy call at Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency in Masa in Lagos, led by the Korean ambassador to Nigeria, Kim Young. He commended the sustained and improved security situation in the Gulf of Guinea with the strong presence of Nigeria, adding that the Korean government looks forward to continuous support from the Nigeria government in the area of intelligence and information sharing, The Deputy Minister added that Korea is the foremost maritime country with highly recognized capacity in the areas of shipbuilding and ship repairs, noting that Nigeria is willing to partner Korea in shipbuilding for the short, medium and long-term benefits of both countries. In health, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, have signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the United Nations Children's Fund to address the menace surrounding poverty and rights violations among children in Nigeria. The partnership, which was officially signed at the launch of the NESG-UNICEF Memorandum of Understanding and Partnership to tackle child rights infringement and poverty in Abuja, will receive support from the federal government. Speaking at the partnership, the group chairman, Niyi Yusuf, said that children remain a vital part of the mandate of the group and believe that urgent action is required to ensure that they do the right thing to promote the development of Nigerian children. He added that Nigerian children represent the asset of the country, stressing that it is important that they invest and plan to ensure that these children will become the leaders of tomorrow. Still in health, the federal government has said it is determined to eradicate the circulating vaccines-derived polio virus type 2 in 2023. The federal government also said 96% of the local government areas in the country have achieved 100% in the outbreak response against the circulating vaccine-derived polio virus type 2. The Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Fishal Schweib, said this at the Nothing Traditional Leaders Committee on Primary Healthcare Development Delivery Review meeting in Abuja. He said the lower the population immunity, the longer these viruses survive, and the longer they survive, the more they replicate, change, and exchange genetic material with other environment viruses as they spread through a community. In sport, ahead of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup finals in Australia and New Zealand, Nigeria's Super Falcons coach Randy Waldrum has boasted that the squad is loaded with talented players. With the surge of new talents emerging from within and outside the country in recent times, he said that he was sure of a good outing at the World Cup. The Nigerian senior women's squad will participate in the first edition of the Women's Revelation Cup slated for 15th to 21st of February in the city of León, Guanajuato, Mexico. According to reports, the Super Falcons will play against the women's national team of Mexico, Colombia, and Costa Rica in the six-day preparatory tournament for the FIFA Women's World Cup. Still in sports, FIFA today announced 3 finalists for the Puskás Award 2022. The World's Football Governing Body disclosed this in a tweet via its Twitter handle. According to reports, the winner will be selected by an international jury comprising a panel of FIFA legends and registered fans from across the world on FIFA's official website. On entertainment news, Nollywood actress Angela Okorie has dragged her junior colleagues in the film industry for lying about their sources of income. Angela Okorie claimed that the majority of these braggadocios by young actresses are lies. Further denouncing these young actresses, Angela wants them to stop making such an impression. According to her, it portrays the senior actresses as being lazy. Still on entertainment, Nollywood movie legend Nkem Owo, popularly known as Osofia, has described Nigerian movie stories as far better than that of their Bollywood and Hollywood counterparts. Osofia made the remark in an interview in Enugu According to him, Nigerian movies present real-life stories and happenings around them, noting that it is wrong to compare the quality of Nigerian films with those coming from the advanced countries. He said that Nigerian film producers were only using technology imported from such advanced countries to improve their movies. The actor called for patience among upcoming actors, saying they should follow their progresses gradually. And that's what we have for you for today. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White. Good afternoon.